Welcome to part 3 of SUNY Delhi's annual refresher course for hazard communication and right to know training. We're touching base now on controls. Engineering controls protect workers by removing hazards or creating a barrier. These include fume hoods, storage cabinets, and ventilation systems. Administrative controls would be work practices and employee rotations, training, and policies. And then your PPE, or personal protective equipment. These are last resort because hazards still exist. These include gloves, safety glasses, respiratory masks, and others. What SUNY Delhi does to protect our employees, we implement an effective program, evaluate chemical hazards in the workplace. This is ongoing and ever-changing, and transmit information to employees through trainings, safety data sheets, standard operating procedures, etc. The elements of a hazard communication program are on this diagram surrounding the hazard communication program. In the center, you'll see the written program, chemical lists, which are ongoing and constantly being updated, maintaining safety data sheets. This is removing the old ones, and when a new chemical is introduced, we add the new SDS to that list. Labeling, correct labeling, and training. Developing a chemical list, we evaluate the workplace and develop a list of hazardous chemicals. Also add to the list those hazardous chemicals produced in the workplace. The written program will have a list of these hazardous chemicals by product identifier referenced on the safety data sheet. Examples would be flammable chemicals, poisonous, oxidizers, etc. The importance of correct labeling. Proper labeling is a great contributor to a safe working environment. On the screen, you'll see the two bottles, one of a vitamin water and one of an unlabeled bottle with a similar color fluid inside. It's an easy way to see the confusion that can mount from not properly labeling. There are several different label elements to assist you in identifying specific hazards. The signal word, this would indicate the relative level of severity of a hazard and alerts the reader to a potential hazard on the label. You'll see danger or warning, danger used for the more severe hazards, warning used for the less severe. Accompanying the signal word, you'll have a hazard statement. This describes the nature of a hazard of a chemical, including where appropriate, the degree of hazard. Some examples are toxic if inhaled, causes severe burns and eye damage, extremely flammable liquid. Next, we'll go over the pictograms. We've touched base on most of these. I'll give you a diagram that includes all of the ones that you would see on a label. The top left are your health hazards. That's the red diamond with the human silhouette and star on the chest. Again, that's carcinogens, mutagenicity, reproductive toxicity, respiratory sensitizers, target organ toxicity, and aspiration toxicity. To the right of that, you'll see a red diamond with the flame over the black bar. That is for flammables, pyrophorics, self-heating chemicals, chemicals that emits flammable gas, self-reactive chemicals, and organic peroxides. To the right of that, we have the exclamation mark pictogram, a red diamond with the exclamation mark. These are irritants to skin and eye, skin sensitizers, acute toxicity chemicals, narcotic effects, respiratory tract irritants, and they could possibly pose hazards to the ozone layer or non-mandatory. Back down and to the left, we'll have the gas cylinders, or the red diamond with the cylinder in the center. These are gases under pressure. To the right of that, we have the corrosion chemicals. Again, the red diamond. In the center, you'll have the two test tubes pointing one over a human hand, the other over a bar. These pose skin corrosion and burn hazards, eye damage, and they possibly could be corrosive to metals as well. To the right of that, we have the exploding bomb, or red diamond, with the explosion in the center, explosives, self-reactives, and organic peroxides. Back down to the bottom left, the flame over the circle. Inside the red diamond is your oxidizers. To the right of that, we have environmental hazards. These can pose problems to the surrounding environment, possibly by improper disposal of these chemicals. The last one you'll see on the bottom right is your skull and crossbones surrounded by a red diamond. These are your acute toxic chemicals, fatal and or toxic. You may also see a precautionary statement. These are a phrase that describes recommended measures that should be taken to minimize or prevent adverse effects resulting from exposure to a hazard chemical or improper storage or handling. Elements of that would be the prevention, response, storage, and disposal. Some examples are a chemical presenting a specific target organ toxicity hazard would include a phrase that states, "Do not breathe dust, fume, gas, mist, vapors, or sprays. Get medical advice if you feel unwell. Dispose of contents in accordance with local, regional, and national regulations." Next, we'll touch base on the elements of a label. The manufacturer, importer, or distributor shall ensure that label info is in accordance with the Appendix C we'll see next, prominently displayed and in English. Manufacturer, importer, or distributor shall ensure that signal word, hazard statement, and pictogram is located together on a tag, label, or mark. Appendix C, these show you the different elements again. You'll have a hazard category, your signal word, hazard statement, and accompanying pictogram. On the top, you'll see a chemical, the skin corrosion irritant hazard. This specific one would raise a hazard category 2 with a signal word warning. A statement or a hazard statement says causes skin irritation, and the exclamation mark pictogram. Below that, you'll see flammable liquids, several different categories, 1, 2, and 3. 1 being the most severe, a signal word accompanying that of danger. 2 would be a danger, 3 possibly a warning. The hazard statement accompanying a category 1 would be extremely flammable liquid and vapor. 2, highly flammable liquid and vapor. And 3, flammable liquid and vapor. Followed by the pictogram, again with the red diamond, the flame over the bar in the center. Here's an example of a manufacturer's label with the different elements. Number 1 is your product identifier. This particular one is a propyl alcohol. This should match the product identifier on the safety data sheet. 2 is your signal word, danger in this case. Again, either use danger for the severe or warning for the less severe. Number 3 is your hazard statements. Again, a phrase assigned to a hazard class that describes the nature of the product's hazards. For propyl alcohol, highly flammable liquid and vapor, causes serious eye damage, may cause drowsiness and dizziness. Next is number 4, your precautionary statements. Again, they describe the recommended measures to minimize or prevent adverse effects resulting from exposure. Again, for propyl alcohol, keep away from heat, sparks, open flames, hot surfaces, no smoking, avoid breathing, fumes, mist, vapors, spray, wear protective gloves, protective clothing, eye protection, face protection. If in eyes, rinse cautiously with water for several minutes. Remove contact lenses if present. Continue rinsing. Next, we'll have 5. This would be the supplier identification. Name, address, and telephone number of the manufacturer or supplier. And 6 is your pictograms. Propyl alcohol would have the exclamation mark hazard, the corrosion hazard, and the flammable hazard. Again, they're graphical symbols intended to convey specific hazard information visually. Workplace labeling. There's times when we'll be possibly diluting a chemical or changing a chemical, either its state from a powder to a liquid. Those are just a few instances where we'll be placing that chemical into a secondary container and labeling appropriately. Employer and employee shall ensure that each container of hazardous chemicals in the workplace is labeled, tagged, or marked. Signal words such as window cleaner are not allowed. Just a simple description is not good enough. A universal label is available to place on secondary containers to satisfy compliance. C, environmental health and safety. I have a template that we can use in those cases. Safety data sheets. Formerly, these were MSDSs. Now they are SDSs. We attain them for all hazardous chemicals present or produced, obtained from the manufacturer, distributor, retailer, or online resources. We organize them so they may be located quickly. SDSs must be readily accessible to employees during all shifts. You should check your custodial closets to make sure these books are available. Hazard communication training. This must be provided upon initial assignment and when new chemical hazards is introduced. Right to know. New York State law requires that employees be provided with annual training on toxic substances in the workplace. It must be provided during working hours with no loss of pay and in location convenient to your work site. They're required to keep records of training. What you'll see around campus, most conspicuously post sign informing employees of their right to information about toxic substances in the workplace. These signs are spread throughout campus. You'll see on the right side of the slide, you have a right to know. Your employer must inform you of the health effects and hazards of toxic substances at your work site. Learn all you can about toxic substances on your job. For more information, you can call and you'll see environmental health and safety on the signs we have around campus and a way to contact us. The right to know laws work for you. Thank you for being part of your annual refresher training for hazard communication and right to know. Any further questions can be directed to myself, Dustin White, at Environmental Health and Safety, 746-4014, or whitedg@delhi.edu. Thank you and continue to work safely. And please, if anything is needed, I'm a phone call away. Thanks again. Bye.